In this video, I'll explain the musical modes and give you two good ways to write and recognize them. A mode is just a way of doing or presenting something, and for musicians we can just think of the modes as a way of organizing the pitches of a scale to create interesting compositions or to use in improvisations. Now firstly, the names of the modes are Greek in origin. Ionian, Dorian, Phrygian, Lydian, Mixolydian, Aeolian, Locrian. If we were to look at a map of ancient Greek dialects, we'd see many of these names. But to the Greek philosophers, their musical modes meant more than just a collection of notes. Plato spoke of Mixolydian, Lydian, and Ionian as modes that were soft and convivial. Dorian is for a brave man who confronts fortune with steadfast endurance, and the Phrygian is for a man engaged in works of peace. Of course, these ancient Greek modes are not the same as the modes we use today. The modern modes are descendants of scales used in Western Europe during the Middle Ages. Only the names are Greek, not the scales. And there were 12 of these so-called European church modes, those scales of Gregorian chants that were based not only on collections of notes, but also on the vocal ranges of the singers. Today we synthesize the system into a simpler set of 7 modes, all based on the notes of a major scale. In this system, the major scale is called the Ionian mode, and it consists of the familiar intervallic pattern of whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. Ironically, it was the last mode to be codified historically, but it is used as the parent scale to derive all the others. There are countless melodies written in the Ionian mode. Here's one called Shenandoah. Notice that the tonal center is clearly C, the first strong beat melody note and the last note of the melody. To understand the rest of the modes, plot the notes and intervals of this Ionian mode around a wheel, and then turn the wheel forward by one note. This gives us the second mode, Dorian. It's the exact same collection of notes, but with a different central pitch. Because of this, the intervals of the mode are quite different from the parent Ionian mode. The Dorian formula is whole, half, whole, 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 half, whole. Give it a listen. Here's a song composed in Dorian mode, Scarborough Fair. The next rotation gives us the third mode, Phrygian. This is E Phrygian from E to E. Listen in particular to the half-step interval at the very beginning. This is what gives Phrygian its very special character. You can hear the scale in lots of Spanish and Persian music. Here's an Andalusian folk song in E Phrygian. Note that there's a chromatic alteration of G sharp that appears occasionally in this song. It's not unusual to make some chromatic alterations in the modes, and this particular change of the third note of the mode to a major third above the tonic pitch creates a scale that we call Spanish Phrygian. The fourth mode is Lydian, shown here as F Lydian, from F to F. Listen here for the sound of those 3 whole steps in a row, right at the beginning. And here's an Icelandic folk song in Lydian mode. The fifth mode, Mixolydian. It's a great mode for the blues and other folk styles. This piece is an Appalachian folk song called Old Joe Clark, and I'll play it in G Mixolydian, from G to G. The sixth mode, Aeolian, should look pretty familiar. It's the same as the natural minor scale. The difference is that with songs in a minor key, we often raise the leading tone and use harmonic or melodic minor forms of the scale. With Aeolian, to retain that modal sound, we don't raise the leading tone. Here's a Christmas carol, God Rest You Merry Gentlemen, and I'll play it here in the A Aeolian mode. The final mode, the seventh mode, is called Locrian. It's more of a theoretic mode, since you'd be hard-pressed to find a song written in Locrian. The reason is that the interval between the tonic pitch and the fifth mode degree is a tritone. This is rather unstable and very unlike all the other modes, where the interval between the mode degree 1 and 5 is a perfect fifth. Nevertheless, this mode, as well as all the others, is very useful for improvisers. It sounds pretty nice over a half-diminished chord. Now keep in mind that we only looked at the modes that are derived from the C major scale. We can create a set of modes using any major scale as the parent key. For example, if we were to construct a G major scale, we could go through all the rotations of that scale to come up with a new set of modes. They'd be G Ionian, A Dorian, B Phrygian, C Lydian, D Mixolydian, E Aeolian, and F-sharp Locrian. Each of the modes in this set would share the same key signature of G major, with 1 sharp on F sharp. So you can see that there are lots of possibilities. You should learn to build all of the modes starting on any pitch. For example, try building a C Dorian mode. Here's how you do it. Recall that Dorian is mode number 2. Therefore, ask yourself this question. If C Dorian is mode number 2, what is the parent scale? In other words, C is the second scale degree of what major scale? A little thought consideration tells us that C is the second note of the B flat major scale. Therefore, to build a C Dorian mode, write a B flat major key signature, and then just write the C Dorian pitches from C to C. Let's try another. Let's write the A Mixolydian mode. Recall that Mixolydian is mode number 5. So, what is the parent scale? A is the fifth note of what major scale? Counting back, we can see that A is the fifth note of the D major scale, So write the D major key signature, and then write the A Mixolydian mode by plotting the notes from A to A. Okay, now I want to talk about a second way to learn and assimilate the modes. This way relates a little bit more to how we actually hear them, and it also depends upon our solid knowledge of all the major and minor keys. I think that when we hear a mode, we actually hear a scale that is very close to either a major or a minor key, but has just one note that's a little bit off. Here's what I mean. The Ionian mode is just a major scale, so that's easy. The Dorian mode, D Dorian here, is very similar to the D natural minor scale. The difference is that the key of D minor has one flat on B flat, whereas the D Dorian mode has a B natural. Your ears may tell you that a Dorian mode is just a natural minor scale with a sixth note raised by 1/2 step. Let's look at Phrygian. The E Phrygian mode is very similar to the E natural minor scale. The difference is that the key of E minor has one sharp on F sharp, whereas the E Phrygian mode has F natural. Therefore, Phrygian is just a natural minor scale, but with a second tone lowered by 1/2 step. Now the next two modes are very similar to the major scale. F Lydian is close in structure to F major. Just raise the fourth note by 1/2 step from B flat to B natural. G Mixolydian is very close to G major. Just lower the seventh note by 1/2 step from F sharp to F natural. Aeolian is easy because it's just the same as the natural minor scale. Locrian is a bit tricky because there are two differences. The B Locrian mode is close to the B minor scale. The B minor scale, of course, has two sharps on F sharp and C sharp, but B Locrian does not have those sharps. So Locrian is the same as natural minor, but with the second and fifth notes lowered by 1/2 step. Of course, for all this information to be useful, you have to memorize it. Do it like this. Dorian, Phrygian, and Locrian are approximations of a minor scale. Dorian is minor, but with a raised 6. Phrygian is minor, but with a lowered 2. And Locrian is minor, but with a lowered 2 and 5. Lydian and Mixolydian are approximations of a major scale. Lydian is major, but with a raised 4, and Mixolydian is major, but with a lowered 7th. Now let's put this to use. If I asked you to write a B-flat Lydian scale, you'd simply write a B-flat major scale, and then raise the fourth note, E-flat to E. That's it. If you want to write a C-sharp Phrygian mode, simply write a C-sharp minor scale, but then lower the second note, D-sharp to D natural. See how easy it is? This is also extremely helpful when identifying the modes by ear. So listen and identify this mode. It's very close to a major scale. What note has been altered? Did you hear it? Yes, the 7th note was lowered. Therefore, it's a Mixolydian mode. Listen again. Here's one that's very close to a natural minor scale. Did you hear which note was altered? Hopefully you heard that the second note was lowered. Therefore, it's Phrygian mode. Well, there you go. Now you have two ways to write and recognize the modes.